Welcome to the Unpacked Project.
We're your hosts. I'm Noelle.
And I'm Miranda.
We're here to explore all things social justice. It's through casual conversations, interviews, and storytelling that we hope to inspire others to take action towards a more compassionate and equitable world.
Because honestly, it kind of sucks here sometimes.
For real, we can do better, people.
All right, let's start unpacking.
Hey everyone, this week is Throwback Week. So super excited for this. To be honest, we wanted to do this as a season 1 wrap up, but life. So we're bringing it back now because, life. Miranda and I are on vacation, trying to maintain that work-life balance. So, we thought it would be fun to take it back to our first season, which seems like it was so long ago. So let's take it all the way back to season 1, episode 1, Miranda. We ended that episode by writing letters to ourselves in, another activity,
right?
Activities. So let's take a listen, actually, to our letters.
Dear the Unpacked Project, I've poured myself into you over the past few months, getting ready for this, to help create space for change in this world, for myself and for others. Because I think we all deserve to know that our lives truly matter. We all deserve to be heard, to be seen, and really to know that we belong. We all deserve to have the same rights and access to resources that allow us to flourish because, call me naive, imagine a world where everyone flourished. It'd be pretty amazing. But we have a lot of work to do to get there, So I want change for our listeners. I want growth for our listeners. And when I look back, I hope we can say that we did something here that helped make this world a better place. Hugs, hugs, and more hugs, Miranda.
Miranda loves her hugs.
I do love hugs. I'm a cuddle bug. All right, your turn.
Oh, that was beautiful. I liked it. Okay, here's mine. Dear the Unpack Project, this is it. I can't believe it. I wish I could hug you, but since I can't, now I just hug Miranda instead. Which, by the way, she loves.
Exactly.
No, but seriously, I literally can't contain the excitement. I am so inspired by you. I feel this work in my soul, and I am also terrified. Will people understand? Will they truly listen? Not just listen to respond, but listen to learn. As Nancy Solomon says, you get in life what you have the courage to ask for. So I am asking you for this. Be unapologetic, be true, be outraged, be understanding, be the change that we want to see in the world. You are a force to be reckoned with, and I will make sure of this. Noelle.
Love it. So I think the first thing that comes to mind, we were so cheesy.
I love our letters.
No, I do. It was like this ode to the Unpacked Project, and so I think that was very special. And really, a lot of that has held true. All those same things are my wants now, right? Really just, again, creating space for change in this world. And I think we're doing that, we're building our social media. People are responding in such positive ways. They're so excited and thankful for resources. They appreciate that it's something that they can tune into at their own pace, that we provide resources, that we do activities, it's all just extended learning and people are really loving it, now, my other hope is a world in which everyone can flourish. And, it's like we've had some downfalls since we read our letters, but I think that this work is never done. And so, and I still love hugs. So, nothing's changed there.
You do.
You.
Oh,
you.
Yeah. For me, I look back on it, same sentiment. So I'm really proud of what we've done. And, I do think that the quote that was in there about, the courage piece, I do think that, that's a big piece of it. I still worry that people won't understand, that's always, as much as we want people to learn, right? We're here with the resources and the information. But we get feedback on social media from people challenging things that we post. You wonder, will people stop listening? I know that was a big worry for us going into this season, talking about extremism and this topic. Will it turn people off? Should we talk about it? How do we say it? But I appreciate that at the end of the day, both of us are on that same page of like, we need to talk about it and we need to be real, and we're fine and confident in having our opinions and having our standpoints and being unapologetic, because these things need to be discussed and talked about, so that's kind of what I think about it.
Yeah. Well, I think just, coming in and having our own voices, so often we talk about, who is our audience, and really it's like that's so broad because it's anybody that is seeking out this information,
Right.
and so it's kind of hard to pinpoint that. But I think the more important thing for us has been finding our voices, speaking our truth, and just being comfortable in this space. Like, we're learning as we go too, So thinking back to the beginning of it all, I never thought that we'd have all those interviews. So we had 14 scheduled last season, right? We ended up doing 13 total.
Yeah.
I know that so we kind of did mini series. We started with education. And then we went into criminal justice reform, a handful of other things. So we had only planned on having 3 criminal justice episodes. And then we received so much support. We booked them all. Cause what we're going to do, have a 12 season or 12 show episode season.
We were looking at a 12 episode season, and we were going to just do 3 on criminal justice and then go into LGBTQ and that kind of thing. And then got so much feedback and support that I think we wound up having 6 episodes, maybe.
6,
on criminal justice.
Yeah, but it was great though. I mean, I think everything happens for a reason, and really season 1, I think played out and panned out the way that it was supposed to, Right. So really just a lot of great content. So if you had to pick a favorite episode or moment from season 1, what would it be?
So when I think back to season 1, for me, I always think of Noble. He was
I love him.
Favorite episode of mine. Really Fernando too. I just appreciate people's experiences and stories. So as much as, I loved all of our interviewees, we talk about this all the time, right? When we hang up, we're like, oh, we love them. There's so much information, so knowledgeable. Everyone has been so nice, and so welcoming, into this field, just wanting to share all their expertise. So really, I've loved the experience in general and all the interviews. But when I think about really why we're doing this and, how people's experiences are shaped by their environments, and then what that in turn means for their own lives, being a psychologist, right? It's just super fascinating, hearing how the world has impacted people. And when I think about Noble, just how he was willing to come on and be vulnerable and share his story, and how he's using his experiences now to try to change the lives of others. And I think of Fernando, whose life was completely derailed. This man was sitting in prison for 18 years, his whole life just completely shattered, and he's turned it around and used that as strength. And not that he doesn't have, we talked about post-traumatic stress disorder and all of these things that he's dealing with as a result of what our system did to him. But just how he's now trying to, again, change the experiences for other people, change the systems, take their pain and turn it into something that's productive and is going to change the world. So I find that really empowering. And I just love hearing people's stories. So for me, they're who I kind of default to when I think about season 1. What about you?
We talked about this. It was so hard to pick in general because I completely agree with you. But just because I couldn't pick the same people she did, I'd say, Michelle from Cahoots. I think she was one of the first interviewees because, we do our intake sessions. And so it's a 30 minute kind of meet and greet, talk about what we want to accomplish with the episode, things like that. And she just was so down to earth and just, clearly, everybody cares about this work that they're doing, in this realm of social justice and fighting for, equity and racial justice as well. But, just kind of defunding the police and reallocating resources and learning so much from her, from, an organization that's been doing it for nearly 30 years was amazing to hear. And she's just so passionate about what she does, you know?
Mhm.
So I think that that was one of my most memorable episodes. It really, at that time, defunding the police still is, but it was really much more talked about at the time. And so I just also felt like that was such relevant information for people to hear as well.
Mhm.
And then she was just down to earth and easy to talk to,
Yeah.
I mean, she's a West Coast girl, so of course I loved her, right? And then Keith he spoke on restorative practices, right, from IIRP. Like personal to me, I love restorative practices and had utilized that in schools when I was working with youth. And so that was also just near and dear to my heart.
Mhm.
And so to learn more in depth about other ways that that work is being utilized and then applying that to like Noble, right?
Right.
Just how full circle that work is seen. So yeah, just really informative. And he was so, again, passionate. His demeanor, just at first I was like, I don't know about him. Is he kind of like dry but he ended up being such a sweetheart, just so well prepared,
Mhm.
really cares about the work that we do, so intentional. And just giving grace and being kind. Like you can just hear it, in our interview with him. So,
Well, I
so I'd say,
remember
keep it
how like excited he was about some of our questions. Like,
yeah.
like great question. This is so good. I love talking about this. Like you said, like people that are just really passionate
Yeah.
about the
Yeah.
work, which I think we saw. I know at the beginning we didn't think we were going to get anyone to interview, right? We're like, who are
Yeah.
we? Like we're asking these people to come on and do
Yeah.
interviews
And not pay them.
and not pay them. Yeah, no one's paid.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
are donating their time. And, we got such great feedback from these people that have so much experience and so much knowledge, and they're here just wanting to get it all out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let the world know about what's happening. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and I think, the idea of this community that we've created, it's like we're doing this work because we care about it, at this level. Other people are doing it too. And they just want to support and
Right.
help and connect you with other folks that are doing this work and get you more interviews. And it just feels good when you are talking about stuff that makes the world so dark,
Right.
So I really appreciated that. So, season one also became much bigger than we imagined, like we shared, but it also didn't come without its challenges.
No.
Lots and lots of challenges. So, what would you say was one of the biggest difficulties we faced or you faced?
Well, for me, first,
I know what you're going to say.
technology. I'm just like,
we hate technology, everyone. Okay, sorry.
Who would have known that not all microphones are created equal? Apparently,
yeah,
I'm on now my third microphone. I think this is the third one. And as you'll listen to season one, some of those interviews, my audio was not good. So we definitely dealt with that, just trial and error of the different platforms, Zoom failing on us. Fernando's episode, we had to completely reschedule because Zoom wasn't working or whatever was happening. We couldn't hear someone or I don't know. So the technology piece has definitely been a challenge. I think it's a continued challenge. Like, we're learning about different production platforms and different ways of recording and all the different logins for the 100 different things that, we have just to keep the podcast going. It's a lot. So I would say that definitely was a big challenge. But, aside from that, for me personally, I would probably just say the adjustment to it essentially becoming a third job for me. I have work in the schools, I have a private practice, and then this is a third unpaid, job that I'm doing because it's a passion and I love it. And it's actually like the one thing, not the one thing, but one of the main things that I look forward to doing. Like I love it. I love the recording. I love the research. I love talking to everybody. And like you said, building the community. Because a lot of times, honestly, with this work, you feel like maybe you're the only one that cares in some situations. Or you're living in this world with seeing everything about racism and discrimination and everything. And you're just like, what don't people get? How is this even a discussion? So having that sense of community and having these conversations with people that are just as passionate about the work is what really pushes me to to continue doing it, but not without dealing with the stress of, just how much time goes into it in addition to everything else that we have going on in our personal and work lives. Like that was definitely an adjustment in the beginning. I mean, I had to make that decision, right? Like doing less time in my private practice, which really means I'm bringing in less money and less income. I had to cut back. There was no way that I was able to do all of it to the same degree that I was. So that was difficult in the beginning.
Yeah, I remember that. Sorry, I'm just writing a note to myself. So for me, I second technology, but first, meeting like-minded folks, because we've also met a lot of folks local to Florida as well. So meeting not only like-minded folks, but like-minded folks in Florida has felt really great as well, especially from being, from the places that we're from. I also want to put a little plug in here, as Noelle talks about this being her third job. Another challenge is all the money that we've put in and we've not gotten anything in return. So for those of you that don't know, I mean, ultimately, right, because this is a business, and I think people don't actually understand, like, we are a formed business. We have our LLC, we give back to the community. We just did our book drive, all the costs that go into hosting platforms, social media planners, just meeting with lawyers, all of those things. And then just our time. We do take donations, and we would absolutely love if you would donate to the cost of the podcast, just so we can continue this research and doing the work that we do. So if that is something you're interested in supporting us, we'd love for you to shoot on over to our website, and there's a donate button on there, and you can always give to us furthering this work. But I second technology. So there's been multiple times I've wanted to throw my phone, my laptop. I just have to walk away from it. I mean, I never knew that it would take 4 hours to sign a legal document if you didn't have DocuSign. Like I don't know if I took a snapshot of your signature. Like Noelle got to the point. It's like, Noelle got to the point. She's like, "Can I use this signature?" I'm like, "Noelle, what the hell is that?" Like,
I didn't care.
Was your hand cut off? Like, were you signing with a nub? Like, you can't no, Noelle, like, do it right. She's like, "I just can't figure this out. I'm so annoyed. I've spent so much time on it." So, sometimes it's the littlest things that you think would go quickly that take the longest amount of time. So definitely technology. I was also diagnosed with anxiety, like kind of right around the time that we started this podcast. So let me tell you, working through that, because I always say, how do I deal with stressful situations? I just avoid them. You can't you can't avoid your business. So, when I'm dealing with challenges like learning new platforms that are super frustrating to me, this has really caused me to just better my time management, do a lot of research on how do I implement practices that can help me get through that. But I think the biggest challenge was really just interviewing, right? And like keeping my voice calm, like I'm having like a racing heart. I have like what are they called? Like you squeeze on them like a fidget to help me. I'm just like, I'm freaking out, right? Medication helps, let me tell y'all. So, right, I had started that after kind of like mid-season, and so that really helped. But actually, our episode with Michelle was so embarrassing. So our scripts are color-coded. So I'm blue and Noelle's green. And for whatever reason, I completely forgot. So Noelle's like, okay, so it's like, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, all right, and go. And she's like, "Miranda, it's you." I'm like, "Oh, I'm blue." Like, so then I get super nervous. So we re-record, and I'm like starting off, and I'm like stumbling, speaking so quickly. So the interview ends, right? We're done recording. It's just us. And she's like, "Did you just snort a line of coke, Miranda? Like, what the hell was that?" I'm like, "I don't know. I was so nervous. Like, I had a coffee that day. I had taken my medication. I was just
like, what is happening right now?
Oh my God. I was like, "Please, we need to re-record the intro. Like, I'm so embarrassed, So just little things like that. Even just being nervous about, your ums and your rights and stumbling over your words, and just, learning to push through that, and that this is what normal conversation sounds like. Right. And you listen to other podcasts, and that's what it sounds like as well. So,
well, do you remember you were doing the transcription for season 1? And like the first two episodes when you were going through and transcribing, you had the count of how many times we said right,
Oh,
and it was like 195.
it was so, I was like, we need to stop. Okay. People are going to stop listening to us because they're sick of how many times we say right, like, so,
It's terrible.
you know.
But
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, anyway, but, aside from that, we've learned so much through this process so far. I can only imagine 6 months or a year from now when we get to look back and we're saying, what we're saying about everything. But in this moment, how do you feel like we've grown? And we kind of touched on that. But where do you also see this going over time?
I talked a little bit in the beginning of when we started talking about that. I'm just proud of us. Like we had always talked about doing a podcast, although we never had any idea of what it was going to be about or what we were going to talk about. We just like shit talk a lot, and we're like, we should do this live so people can hear it.
We had like 18 different ideas. They were all like.
Then obviously, after George Floyd, we kind of narrowed it down to this, but. So I think we had so many visions, weren't sure once we decided that social justice was going to be the route that we were going to go, still had so many visions, didn't really know who the audience was going to be. And I think, we're finding our voice, we're gaining confidence in talking about these issues and being willing to put ourselves out there to speak about these things. And, really just trying to remain relevant and talking about the things that are happening in a truthful way, but also having it be digestible for people so that they can understand it and they're not turned off. But like I said earlier, at the end of the day, we aren't willing to like water things down or abandon our beliefs or our values just so that it's easier for people to hear. Like, this is what we're here to talk about. It is what it is. It's the reality. And hopefully having different ways that we do it, like how we have our activities and we try to incorporate research and bring in interviewees that both have a lived experience and also have more, knowledge from being out in the field, doing the work. They're trying to incorporate all these different pieces. So I'm proud of us that like creatively and from a courageous perspective, we're growing like in that way. Yeah. And, obviously, hopefully hope we get to a point where we're creating more like educational content, courses people can take or content that people can use in their businesses or at their jobs or in their personal lives for self-growth or reflection, creating materials and content that people can start using outside of the podcast is where I hope that we eventually go with this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I agree with all of that, right? I think again, we're building a business, right? And it's not just a podcast. And ideally, the podcast allows us to learn as we go, right? So we're learning, different platforms that we can utilize for, hosting webinars, training, consulting, things like that.
Right.
The information, we're self-taught, right? So the information that we're learning is information that we can then turn around and teach to others, in groups, like you said, for businesses, organizations, things like that. So I really think the way that we've grown, well, what stands out to me the most is we were already friends, right? Best friends, starting a business with a best friend. Some people, it can be great or it cannot be, right? And just, our growth in communication and working together, and really filling in each other's gaps has been great, right? Like I was just talking to someone at work who's going to venture off on his own, and he's going to have a business partner. And similarly, actually, he's Black, his friend is white. And, they both have dealt, the white guy has supported the Black guy in racial justice, right? And that's true to who he is. And that's also important to him because, right now he's just dealing with some things where he just doesn't feel supported, so support in that way for who you are just on a basic level. And then, the work that you care about is so important. And then how you work together as well. Right. So I think that we've grown a lot in that way. Also just building a business, like I said, learning all these platforms, and just continuing to get better, So I think even from season 1 to season 2, you can hear a clear difference in our podcast, in, how we speak. So yeah, just, continuing some of that. And then again, I'd love to train, consult, host webinars, all that good stuff, which we will get to. So yeah.
I mean, I knew you as a friend, but now I know you.
Just a friend. She was, I know. And she accepts me. Let me tell you, I really appreciate. So in addition to anxiety, y'all, so Noelle is not only a friend, best friend, she's like a semi-therapist. She really tries not to therapy me because that really goes against what she believes in, but it just comes naturally, right? And so she's like, well, Miranda, anxiety and ADD really go hand in hand. And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure when I was a kid, I had ADD. And she's like, yeah, I think you might have it now as an adult too. I'm like, bitch, what? She's like, I mean, I work with you. I'm just saying, like, I've noticed some things. I'm like, okay, well, let me go get checked out, So,
I mean, I don't come without anxiety either. So it is
also true. Same. It's just very different.
Right, exactly. We have, we definitely have our moments where I'm texting you like, I cannot deal with this right now. I need you to go handle this. Like,
I'm like, okay, here I go.
Yeah. And like you said, it's just a good balance of kind of our own vulnerabilities, right? Like being able to know what we don't know, and just how we help each other through that. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking this trip down memory lane with us. Like we always say, we appreciate you all so much and look forward to doing this work together for years to come. So we'll see y'all next week.
Bye.
Show the Unpack Project some love and be sure to like, subscribe, and review our podcast. You can also check us out on Instagram at _Unpack Project.
And if you enjoyed today's episode, visit our website at theunpackedproject.com, where you can make a donation that supports the research, production, and operating costs of this work.
Shout out to all of our listeners who unpacked with us today.
See you next week.
Peace.